shoes. Everything she says is truth. If you don't know, now you know. All you ever gotta say is heard that, heard that, heard that, heard that, heard that. Look, all you ever gotta say.
What's up, Heard That Nation, listening in the United States and around the world. You are listening now to the Heard That with Marisa podcast. If you're watching now on YouTube, I ask you to hit that subscribe button and keep in the know of all the guests and episodes that are be coming to you on this YouTube channel. I have made the commitment, and I've said this many times on the show, if you've been watching and listening on the podcast and all podcast platforms, that I will continue to talk about mental health and wellness. Majority of it has been very important, especially during this pandemic, where people have been challenged mentally and their well-being. And this amazing guest that I have on has written an incredible book about that and talked about it in her journey. And I think it's going to relate to a lot of people to make it be okay to talk about when they are not okay, and especially in a situation where they deal with heartbreak and they deal with unfortunate abuse, as well as challenge of the mental and wellness. And Sakina Ibrahim is an NAACP Image Award nominated author, speaker, entrepreneur. She has spent over a decade working in the arts, education, and entertainment industry, providing her an unparalleled experience working with industry legends and impacting lives internationally using the arts and personal development. She is the CEO of her company Stretch and Pray and is dedicated to helping her clients become emotionally, physically, and spiritually balanced. Please, ladies and gentlemen of Heard That Nation, welcome Sakina to the show. Sakina, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm so excited to be here. I love the energy already. I'm so excited for the conversation today.
Yeah, I want people to tune in on and watch on YouTube because Sakina is absolutely stunning. And you can see the radiant energy and the glow that's around her, especially with the topic that we're going to talk about. And her and I chatted briefly before coming on live, those that are listening on the podcast and watching on YouTube. And we were talking about where we are at a crossroads of people that may not, that they think they're okay, but they still do not feel safe to come out and get the help that they need with their mental and their wellness and the self-love that they deserve and the healing that they deserve. So Sakina has wrote an incredible book, To Begin. It's a journey in self-love and in healing. And Sakina, I just want to start with a question which I am amazed at how many people have follow you on Instagram, and I'll have you drop your social media handles at the end of the show. But I am amazed about how many people have followed you and have read this book and have talked about how the big thing that they relate to with you is that you relate to them when it comes to issues about self-healing, about acceptance of self, about admitting when there is a mental crisis, there is a wellness crisis, there is a self-acceptance, a self-healing crisis that people have been battling. And I want you to talk about your book and the inspiration behind it, To Begin. What made you write it? The powerful pages that are in it. I mean, I have it right next to me, basically tabbed up, marked up, printed it, and some of the things that I related to, because it is so hard for us to talk about when we have an issue going on, and we sometimes kind of sweep that under the rug. So expand it and talk about what inspired you to write this book.
Yeah, so this book was deeply inspired from my own heartbreak. After ending a relationship with a partner I was with for almost 10 years, and the time was up. We had been through a lot together. He unfortunately had experienced a skydiving accident, and I was there by his side the entire time, you know, as a partner, as a caregiver. And essentially he was paraplegic. And so there was a lot of different layers in the relationship, right? Like all these challenges. Am I abandoning him? All these things that came up. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, when the relationship as a love relationship was over, I had to decide to choose myself. Mm-hmm. And that pushed me into discovering my identity in a new way. Because I mean, I only knew myself in the context of this love relationship. 10 years is a long time.
Right, exactly.
You know, that's a long time. And so much of you changes, so much of your personal identity is molded in and by our relationships. So that really catapulted me to the next level in wanting to heal myself, wanting to look back into my childhood traumas and experiences and things that, you know, culturally we sort of just say, be strong and keep moving, you know, be strong and keep going
Or
through it.
don't talk about it and just sweep it under the rug and keep pushing. Or,
Talk
you know, you
about
can,
it.
yeah. And you, I mean, I don't, and I was one of those people, right? I was one of those ones where it was just like, okay, this heartbreak happened. This breakup happened. This missed opportunity happened. I missed out on a promotion. You know, all of the triggers, the tragedies that happened throughout. But I suppressed that down. And
Yeah.
you're like one tragedy away from snapping, or one tragedy away from, you know, having a mental breakdown. And I
Yeah.
think that the stigma of us holding on to that and just keeping ourselves, well, if I get involved in this committee, if I get involved in this activity, if I stay busy, if, you know, all of this will make me forget about the issues that I had and the tragedies that I had and the heartbreak that I had. And that most of the time is not the case, because it makes it absolutely worse.
Yeah, we try to work it away, or I have a chapter in my book called "Sex It Away."
That is a
We
deep
try,
chapter.
you know,
Yes.
that chapter.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. We try to do all kinds of things to assist us in avoiding with sitting with how we feel. It's not, and I always say, like, there's no blame here. Who the heck was supposed to teach us how to feel? Like,
Right.
no, I had a single mom. Mom was working. She was coping, doing the best that she could with her adult stuff, right? I always give her a shout out because she did the dang thing when it came to raising two children on her own. So it's like, who is supposed to teach us to do these things when it comes to our emotional and mental well-being? So now, because the world has been flipped upside down in a pandemic, it's becoming a hot topic. And people are realizing, oh, I'm not okay. Oh, therapy is normal. Oh, I can talk about these different things that I've been through, because the truth is we all have experienced some level of trauma, and it just manifests itself in kind of different magnitudes, right? So my trauma may have been a little bit different than your trauma. Yours might be less, mine's might be more. So we have to just recognize that trauma is kind of a part of our life, and not be caught up in feeling like there's a stigma behind it.
Right. And I think that it is imperative that when people experience trauma, it's trauma. And the thing that I saw, you beautifully wrote in your book too, is, and this is why I respect you as an author. And then like I told you, I had other guests that are on the show. When I read their book and their material and they check out their website and everything else, I appreciate that you are relatable on the level of a person that has gone through similar situations as you do. You don't just give advice about, you know, okay, we'll pray it away. And I mean, it's more deeper than that, because sometimes prayer is there and it's absolutely amazing and whatnot, but sometimes you need to cry, you need to scream, you need to get therapy, you need to, you know, get that one-on-one connection with somebody that can push you through past all the struggle and the pain. And that's why I appreciate in the book To Begin, that there is always a beginning and there's always an ending. Right. And so people think that it's like, okay, well, there's a beginning, there's an ending, but I don't know if I can begin again because I'm already stuck in the mess. And I'm already stuck in the issues. Yeah, right. And like, I'm already stuck in the issues and I'm already stuck in that. So how did I get myself unstuck? For you, you have beautifully written about, you know, the relationship that you got out of. And then, you know, chapter 3, you know, Sex It Away, which, you know, I want you to talk about that, not give it away, because I want people to get the book and read it for themselves. But what, through your journey of intimacy and knowing what true intimacy is versus the I need intimacy right now, but it had no love to it, versus intimacy, well, as versus intimacy where there is love. Talk about that a little bit with when you were writing that chapter, that you had to stand back and look at those pages and be like, ooh, girl, whoa.
Yeah. Well, first I have to just commend you because you did your research, girl. You did your work, and that makes these conversations so much more deep, right? They make them more authentic because you're speaking from an informed place. So thank you so much
Absolutely.
for grabbing the book and reading it.
I read that chapter. Actually, I read that chapter two or three times because I was grabbing some ahas you put in there that I want you to talk about, what, why you wrote the chapter, so that the people that are listening and watching can just, I wanted them to hear it from your words, because I think they're going to be like, yeah, that's me. Yeah, she right. Yeah, let me get on here and order this book.
Sex is something that's all around us. I mean, children are exposed to sex at a young age. Sex is all over social media. Everything is about sex. But there is not the coaching or the guidance or even hearing words of wisdom from our elders about sex, and for Black women, our sexuality, right? Everybody right now is grabbing a piece of our sexuality and getting it surgically implanted into their bodies, not understanding that your sexuality is not necessarily connected to sex. It's not necessarily connected to giving yourself away to anyone or sharing yourself. It's more so, my journey has been really clear and got more clear once I decided to step away from having active sex and said, okay, what is my relationship with me? What is my intimate relationship with myself? And all of these things really came up as questions. And I just began to pray, and I began to investigate and do, read and listen to other women and what their perspectives were about their relationships and their sensual relationships with themselves, with their own bodies. A lot of people don't even know who they are without sex. That's really, really complicated. Who are you, like I was saying earlier, without an individual, as a partner? Who are you without, casual sex? It's a really deep relationship. Can you sit and be with yourself? Not a lot of people can. And so if you can't sit and be with yourself, what makes you think that someone else wants to sit and be with you? And then you're like, why are all my relationships failing?
Yeah, and
the problem, you wouldn't know because you don't know who you are.
Exactly, and the problem with that is, if you don't know who you are, you got people that will label you who they think you are. And we see this all the time on the news. We see it all the time on reality TV. When you see all these dating shows, all these, matchmaking shows and all this other stuff. And it's an uncomfortable watch for me, because I see this person that's going through and trying to find the love of their life. And they're going through all these potentials to get to their potential. And then 9 times out of 10, it's not lasting. You know what I'm saying? And so when you have that person that's going through that and going through the motions for the exposure, for the paycheck, for the the likes and the follows on their social media platforms, at the end of the day, when the cameras are turned off and all of that is and the music is faded and the last rose given, I think that is an important question you ask, like, who are you? Because the world has already said who you are. People that are close to you have labeled you, people that have watched who you are, but do you know who you are as a person? And I think that is so key that you just said that.
Right. And you don't lose anything by taking some time to date you. You don't lose anything. You gain. Let me tell you, you really, really gain in the pleasures of who you are, the pleasures of this world, the pleasures of, I talk in my book about building a relationship with God. You don't lose anything. And a lot of people, I mean, we all experience some levels of loneliness because of the pandemic, right? So if even if it's like, I'm lonely and there's 7 kids at this house.
Right.
I have friends like that. I'm like, what do you mean you're lonely? You have a husband and a child. How are you lonely? Like, I don't understand. But that's a real, that's part of our human experience. So, there's no L with dating you, and there's no L with dating yourself and being with yourself, even if you are in a relationship. I'm all for the reality shows are hilarious,
Yeah.
they're very entertaining, but you have to realize this is not reality. This is scripted television. They call it unscripted, but it's scripted television. And I was actually up for a couple of shows that I had to kind of pivot on, because I was like, I don't think the theme of finding love on reality television is what I want to be part of my journey, because of what that comes with. The entire world in your business.
Right.
And there's actually nothing more impactful than the partner that you choose to have in your life.
Well, talk about your journey a little bit, because you had beautifully put that in your book, about your dating situation and you walking away from a 10-year relationship. And it's like hard when, especially us as women, where we think we found the love of our life, and knowing doggone well deep inside, and that in our inner gut, that intuition is like, what are you still doing here? And we are comfortable of being okay, comfortable of just mediocre, and not realizing in our heart of hearts and in our minds, we deserve better. But he takes me out, but he does this, but he brings me this and everything else. And we get at that mental where we're just stuck in that, like I said, that level of okay and not top tier. When did you discover that for yourself, that it was just like, okay, in order for these doors to open for me, I need to finally, be that person that's going to step out and talk about that, because I know we just did a little bit, but address that to those that are listening and are watching that have to make that gut deep down decision, that knowing doggone well they should have walked away a long time ago, but haven't, because people always say what they say to you. And I know you get in contact with so many people, it's like, well, Sakina, it's easier said than done. We have a child together. We have a house together. We have this together. We have that together. And I know you get all kinds of emails, messages, DMs, texts, all of that about that. So expand on your journey, and then how somebody can learn from the way that you had finally discovered it for yourself, that you deserve better, and what has happened since then.
So deep, so good, so good. I think I really had to ask myself, is fear holding me here, or is love holding me here? And so somebody, y'all can take that in every aspect of your life. What's really holding me here? I think that it is difficult, no matter which way you look at it, to decide to move on from a place that's comfortable for you, no matter which way you look at it. But I think that you have to be courageous and love yourself enough to move past your comfort zone. Does that make sense?
That's
so
good.
For myself, I had a couple of aha moments, and they hurt. They were very uncomfortable. They were very uncomfortable, because I talk about it in the book, where I'm like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? I need a new car. I literally had to start from scratch, because our lives were so interwoven together. And all of those things that came up that would keep me there out of comfort, it was like, so. And God was like, I'm saying move. I'm saying go.
That's good.
So it's like that meme you see where like Jesus has the big teddy bear behind, and he's like, you got to give me the little teddy bear first. You have to have faith to step out and what it is that you feel in your intuition, and what it is God is telling you to do, even if you don't know what's next. I know in the last section of my book, I talk about don't be afraid to begin. Don't be afraid to be wiped out to nothing, because honestly, God is going to restore every little thing you may feel you've lost.
Mhm.
And for myself, because of the obedience, right?
Yeah.
That is what is allowing my life to come together so beautifully.
Mhm.
It's coming together so beautifully. And this individual was like a rock star individual, like completely my Prince Charming, like,
Yeah.
a rock star. I've yet to meet someone to live up to how wonderful he was to me, and how wonderful he was as a person, which makes all this even more complicated.
Mhm.
It's like, well,
Mhm.
if it was all good, then, then what are you doing? Um, but I think having standards, for yourself, also knowing what it is that you truly want for your life. There's things that I truly wanted for my life, that I knew wasn't going to be fulfilled in that relationship. So
Mhm.
I had to be courageous enough, to move on and to trust myself. Oh, that's the other part, trusting yourself. Like, come
Yes.
what may, it's a roller coaster here.
Right.
It's rocky. Come what may, I'm gonna stand. I know that I'm a strong person, and
Mhm.
life has hit me with some pretty big bricks. But it's like,
Mhm.
you know what? I stood last time, I'm going to stand again,
Mhm.
and we all have that inside of us.
Yes. And not run back after the bricks come, after the
Back for
fear
what?
comes. That part.
Go back. Go back.
Yes. Because it's, and I'm so glad that you went there with it, because as soon as a storm comes, as soon as you call them, bricks, fear and all that comes, it's like, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have gone, I shouldn't have left, and then go back to where you shouldn't have gone. You shouldn't have stayed that length of time, and it gets worse. And I know you've seen this in many people that you have coached and you have mentored and everything else. And I want you to share that as well, after the relationship, and the storms that you have endured and everything. You have been a speaker and a motivator for so many. And I love, I went on your website and just saw, that you also mentor, these young, amazing girls to have a voice, to speak up and
Yeah.
empower, our next generation. People call them the next generation. I'm calling them the generation now, because they are doing things now. It's like, oh, when you get older, you're going to impact the world. No, they're impacting the world now, and people need to pay attention to that. These 10, 11, 12-year-old young people, younger than that are finding their voice, buying their passion, standing up for what they believe in. We just need to make sure that we are guiding them in the right place, and telling them that they are the generation to make that change today.
Absolutely. So I want to talk a little bit about going back, right? I think that there's a such thing as shifting what your relationships look like, right? So going back for me wasn't going back into a romantic relationship, but going back was really taking some time to heal. There was like 2 years of no communication, and life had its way of bringing us back together to reconcile and have a uncomfortable conversation that needed to be had,
Mhm.
and think about friendship, right? Thinking about how to be cordial, right? And sometimes it's worth it. Some people are worth it, and then some people aren't, right?
Yeah.
And that leads me to want to talk about a time where I did go back to someone who was not worthy, right? Like someone who I was involved with who was very abusive. And
Mm.
it was like that back and forth thing. And then I remember kind of holding my head and I was like, you're not this girl. You're not. I'm grateful I went through it because it taught me how easy it is to get caught in those situations.
Mhm.
I was like, Miss Woman's Empowerment, Miss Girls Empowerment. How could I be in a situation that's toxic and abusive and considering after I left going back and
Yeah.
then going back and it being even more of a disaster? How could that happen to me? And it made me so compassionate and it made me understand it can happen to anybody, girl.
Mhm.
This just revealed some wounds of yourself that you didn't know was there.
Yeah.
This reveals some more self-work that you have to do. This revealed what's really out there, in the world. This revealed how easy it is to be taken advantage of, right? How a big heart can be taken advantage of. And also, like, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
You know better.
Right.
And so it was that for me. And so none of what I'm sharing and my experience is easy. It's literally you walking your path in life and discovering what right feels like and what wrong feels like. That's it. And
Right.
once you know what wrong for you feels like, you're like, oh, I'm not going there. I know what that feels like. It didn't feel good, so I'm choosing other.
I see it as sometimes like there's a big bonfire. You wouldn't just walk through the fire and get yourself, because what you walk through the fire and you stand there, what's going to happen? You're going to get burned. So it's just like, if you know you're not supposed to be in that relationship, if you know you're not supposed to be hooked up in that friendship, if you're not supposed to be in that space of toxicity, that's basically like standing in the middle of that fire. Right?
So good. So good. I love that analogy. I love that analogy. And it's so important for us as women, as mothers, as aunties and sisters, and sometimes it's just cousins, or even teachers, as we walk out our lessons and we learn certain things about life and ourselves, to pay it forward, pay it forward. That, little 7-year-old girl is watching you, everything that you do. And it's being put into her subconscious. It's being put into her mind. She's being socialized, how you relate to men, what you do, what you say, how you look, all of these things is literally we're programming the children. So that's why I try to, create spaces for young women to talk about their needs, to talk about how they're feeling. Today's generation, they're going through different challenges, especially when it comes to identity, and also coping with the world around them. Like, I'm so glad I'm not in middle school with social media. It's hard. It's a really, really rough thing. So whether you want to be or not, you are a mentor. Whether you want to be or not, you're part of creating what the next generation is going to be and how they feel and see themselves in the world.
I mean, it's amazing to me how the term influencer is popular now on social media, but influencers have been everywhere. You see what I'm saying? Like what you said, they have been everywhere that you go to, every place you go to, there's always an influencer. They're either going to influence you to be your best self, or they're going to influence you to steer you off the path. So I like that you talked about that, and you are the CEO of Stretch and Pray, and I want you to talk a little bit about how you started it and what that is all about.
Yes, so Stretch and Pray was really evolved from what I did to heal myself. I had to have a movement practice. I am a dancer. I'm a dance teacher. So moving my body, stretching, working out, dancing, that's always been a part of coping and healing for myself. Even, as I was a little girl, I always say dance saved my life. So I realized that was not a norm for everybody. I did not know this. I've been around artists my whole life. So I'm like, what do you mean you don't stretch in the morning? So I wanted to create a platform and a business that would encourage movement and wellness, as well as spiritual development and personal growth. And that's where the pray comes in, because I'm a praying woman.
Amen.
I don't know. I remember a time I wasn't, and it got real messy. So prayer and meditation has given me strength and wisdom and the ability to forge through my obstacles, and thrive and have victory. And again, not everybody's used to that. Not everybody knows how. And so I wanted Stretch and Pray to really be a space for supporting girls, women, couples in their journey to wellness.
That's so important to be well and to live well. Whether it's you walk outside, like you said, pray or, meditate, or just to walk outside and take a moment and just be still.
Be
If you
still,
be
yeah.
still in the awe and in the radiance of just quiet. I know, like I said, that you had people that have been part of your stretch and pray and in the program and your mentorship and everything else. Can you
Yeah.
talk about a time where you encountered either a couple or a young person that you had mentored that was part of your program, that their story, their feedback has resonated with you or moved you? Because I know you probably got like tons of things, but what has been a story
Well,
that you can recall that was just like pretty much moved you emotionally, possibly to tears?
ooh, to tears. Okay, now I have to change my person. or maybe I'll talk about two. So the first person that came to mind was actually a Muslim woman who I had as a client. And she was like not interested in dancing, not interested in moving, but knew that she needed to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we sort of progressed through my classes and through my sessions, I saw this aha moment go off inside of her where she was like, oh, this is how my body moves. I was like, pull your hip back. Oh, it became this like moment of empowerment because she felt in control of her body.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel in control of your body, you might feel a little more in control of your life too. All these things are one, they work together. So that was a very rewarding moment. Sort of seeing an individual who had no movement practice finally begin to enjoy a movement practice and then start to feel empowered in her own body and
And
start
she
to
found
look.
like she loved herself.
Yeah, I was gonna say that next, and start to
Mm-hmm.
love her own body, because we constantly judge our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of society, as women. You go through Target and there's all these ways to fix yourself, right? All these ways to lose weight or to get a new face, or there's all these ways. But I like for my clients to really sort of strip themselves of the ways that they fix themselves and learn to love themselves for who they are. That's at the core. And so when those moments happen, even for myself, I had a moment where I was like, I'm not going to wear makeup for a little while. I really want to heal my skin.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you called me beautiful today and I have no makeup on,
I mean,
really
yeah,
mattered.
this is why I want people to check out this YouTube episode, because Sakina is absolutely radiant, and it shows through everything that you're doing, and what you believe in, and the core values that you teach. You implement that also on yourself. It isn't just you, saying, this and that. You make sure you live your life to the fullest and stretch and pray and this and that. But you're absolutely a living testament yourself
Oh,
of
yeah.
everything that you said. So that's why I said the beauty and the core and the essence of what you say, you can actually see that on your face.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That it matters so much. That compliment means so much because, I just believe in doing the work. I've been teaching a long time and I can't teach anything I don't know. And so if I want to help women to be in love with themselves, to heal their wounds of their past, and really step into their purpose in a deeper way, I can only do it if I know it. I can only do it if I'm living it. It's sort of like cleaning up my mess to help others clean up theirs.
Oh, that's deep. Let me marinate on that for a minute, because that's really good. That is really good. And it's as simple as breathing in and breathing out. Take in that deep breath. I have I'm sure people that have an iPhone watch or a watch that will remind you to just breathe, because sometimes we forget to. Just the simplest thing as that, to take 3 minutes out and just simply breathe. And that's basically what it is. Is just realize, okay, I have a purpose. I'm here. There's something that I should be doing. There's some passion that I have inside of me. Let me just stop, take a moment and breathe it in of gratitude, grace, and thanksgiving, and then breathe it out.
Yes. Yes.
And that's
I love
the
it.
best thing. What is, before I let you go, I asked this with some of my guests that I've had on the show. What is a mantra of yours that you live by? And it could be one that you even, created, and a mantra that is very important to you, that is basically, you could say that that's like your mission statement. And why is that mantra important to you?
Ooh, so good. So good. I love your questions. One is definitely I am enough every day, and I am worthy every day. And I also spend a lot of time reading the Psalms. I find so much comfort in Psalms 23 and in Psalms 91. 23, which talks about, this is the Lord is my shepherd, very common, which talks about being comforted and provided for. And 91, which talks about protection, right? Being hidden underneath the wings of his shadows. Oh, it's so
That's
good.
the best.
It's so good. It's like, what? There's nothing you can do to me. I'm underneath the wings of the shadows of the Almighty. What?
I'm protected. I'm protected. And surrounded by his protection, his love.
Yes.
Nothing like it.
Nothing like it. So those are part of my daily practice. Waking up and going to sleep. Those are really important to me.
That is absolutely impactful, and it's absolutely beautiful. How can people follow you on social media?
Okay, you can follow me at Sakina_world. Sakina is spelled SAKINA_world. That is across all platforms, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook.
Beautiful. Sequina, you have been absolutely amazing. People, please follow her on social media. Follow her on IG. Check out her book, To Begin a Journey of Self-Love and Healing, because healing starts with all of us. We need to give ourselves permission to love one another, but also we can't love one another until we love ourselves. We gotta love ourselves and allow the healing to begin. Sakina Ibrahim. Ibrahim?
You got it.
Okay, I want to get it right. Sakina Ibrahim, thank you so much for coming on the Heard That podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. And thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen of Heard That Nation, for listening today. And as I always end the show, please be kind to one another. Take care and stay safe. We are.